I didn't wake up one morning and decide I want to change my life. I woke up one morning with the realization that I wasn't actually living my life. Have you ever stopped and wondered, how much of your life did you actually choose? The relationships, the career, the friendships, the fears you have, your own beliefs and your own thoughts. How much of it was chosen and how much of it was handed to us through our childhood, the people around us, our cultures, our experiences, perhaps some of our trauma? Most of us, and I certainly did for many years, spend a large part of our lives protecting and building on beliefs, choices, and identities and versions of ourselves that we never actually chose in the first place. For me, when I started connecting the dots, religion played a massive part. I grew up in quite a strict Muslim family, and a lot of what we were taught was, if you do this, then that's going to happen. If you do this, that's going to happen. And they weren't particularly nice things. So a lot of the choices and decisions instinctively became about, okay, I can't do that because of this, I can't do that. And that fear-based thinking became the driving force behind every choice and every decision I made later on in life, regardless of whether it's at work, at home, in my personal life, in my relationships, friendships. Everything was driven by fear. When I think about my career path, that was massively affected by religion as well, but by my culture and the people I was around, my family. As I mentioned, I grew up in a Muslim household, and at the time, the mindset was, if you're not a doctor or a lawyer, then you're a failure. And I remember still at the age of around 18 that I really wanted to be an air hostess, cabin crew. I was told in no uncertain terms that wasn't going to happen. And what's bizarre now when I think back is that I didn't even negotiate on that. It wasn't even a conversation. I just thought, okay, so I can't do that. And that I had to go to university. And I did all the things that I should do, needed to do, or was told I should be doing. And when you think about it, a lot of us learn that early on. We go to school and there's certain ways to behave, rules to follow, ways to dress, the things we're going to eat at lunchtime. All of that comes from external sources. And I get it, there needs to be structure. But the danger is, somewhere along the way, later on in life, we can forget to take that authority back to us. What do we want? How do we want to show up in the world? What is right for us? We get so used to seeking external validation and external direction on how we should be or need to be, whether that's to stay safe. I remember going to school, and it still strikes me now. You know, everyone wants to fit in when they're at school. I think it was particularly difficult for me because, unfortunately, there was a lot of racism. And I remember thinking at a very young age, I must have been around 6 or 7, and before I even opened my mouth or did anything, there seemed to be this silent hatred towards me. And so, again, that reinforces coming from a place of, okay, what do I need to do to fit in, to be liked, to feel safe? And you're seeking that direction from elsewhere. Before I knew it, I got to my 30s, my 40s, and was still showing up in the world how I needed to be or how I should be. And I think you get to a point in life where that friction and that resistance begins to build. You don't feel fulfilled, you don't feel happy, and you can't figure out why. And it's because we've been layered with so many different identities over the years that it takes us further and further away from who we are. And that distance becomes difficult to ignore at a certain point. I think one of the biggest things that impacted my personal relationships was, and I know this will resonate with other people that are the eldest children or, you know, one of the elders in their family. I was the eldest of 6 children. My parents worked incredibly hard, had multiple jobs. And so it was my responsibility at a young age to look after my siblings, to clean the house, to cook the meals. And I took that on naturally. But what that did later on, and through my younger years and up until 5 years ago, 3 years ago even, is I adopted a role where I thought I had to be of service, where I believed that I couldn't turn my focus to me until everybody else and everything else had been looked after. And so what happens is you go through life people pleasing, overextending, breaking your back. And you get to a certain point in life where that's not sustainable and you're drained and you resent a lot of the relationships that you have in your life. I got to a point at 49 years old where for the first time in my life, it makes me a little bit sad, but mainly happy. I got to the first time in my life where I made a choice and a decision for me because it was something I wanted. Not because I was something I had to do because I was afraid. Not because it's something I needed to do because something external from me required it, but something I wanted to do. And I answered this question, and I'm going to ask you the same. If you weren't who you should be, who you need to be, do you know who you would be? That's the question I decided that I was going to get to the bottom of. Now, if you want to know what happened next, I would ask you to like, subscribe, and tune in for my next video. For those of you that haven't seen my face, my name's Salima. I'm the proud founder now of Shared Sanctuary Collective. Please check it out. It's a wonderful space for anyone that feels called. And I want to end by saying two things. One, thank you for allowing me some time with you. And number two, if you hear nothing else I say to you, hear this. If you are unhappy, unfulfilled, or feel like something is missing from your life, life doesn't have to stay this way.